opinion. Stressin viver tot versus sin quest mon e bo Christian je bo gizoli fos bliden toi.
We are here with Marie Louise Werth, who represented Switzerland in 1989 with the song Viver Senza Tie with the group Furbaz. Marie, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, danke vielmals.
Hello, and thank you very much for the invite.
How did you first come to music, and when did you know you wanted to be a performer?
Aber viel gesungen, meine Eltern.
At home, we played a lot of music together. It wasn't necessarily like highbrow, but my oldest sister had piano lessons. And whenever she went to school, I could take over the piano, and this became my favorite toy. We didn't have a lot of other excitement in Graubünden, where I grew up, but there was a children's choir, there was a church choir, and that all became a motivation for me to explore my voice. And then later on in high school, all six of us, we went to the same Abbey school. And this is where actually the six of us from Furbaz came together and where we met. And where we also came together for Concours Eurovision, as it was called back then.
Focusing in on Romansh, can you tell our listeners a little bit about the language and how it played into your everyday life growing up?
Das Besondere ist, dass es die
So the special thing about this language is that in my mind, I really think that it adds something to Switzerland and to Swiss culture. There are only 30,000 people left who are speaking the language. It is dying because the people who live in the mountains where it's still being spoken, especially younger people there, they move to the bigger cities very often to go there to study, and then they sometimes stay. So the danger that this beautiful Latin language goes extinct is actually there. And it's not even only that it's one language, there are three different idioms of it. There are three different dialects. So these small number of 30,000 people is actually being split up in three different ones. I think that my first cry as a baby was already in Romansh. And I feel closest to myself when I'm singing in that language. Often people understand just few parts of songs and people just sing along to I Love You. And so very often I'd feel as if I can connect just the same way when I sing in a language like Romansh. And Viva Senza Te is still a song that I sing at every gala, and I can still see that people are really, really able to still connect to it, even though it is sung in this other language. Maybe to give you a bit of a background, in school, in fourth grade, we have to start to learn German, actually. And German then becomes an important class in school, and only 2 years later, so in like sixth grade, Romansh just becomes an elective. It's always this question of, okay, how can we make sure that this is a language that survives?
And what do you think makes Romansh distinct as a sung language?
Wie gesagt, Deutsch hat
German has many harsher words than Romansh because Romansh has many vowels and therefore sounds softer and less consonants. Also, my vocabulary is also much more spontaneous when I write and sing in Romansh, and this is why it's just the language that is closest to my heart, my everyday life.
The first time you competed in the national finals was in 1987 with Da Compagnia. Can you talk about how that song came about and let us in on how you decided to apply for Eurovision in the first place?
Ja, ich muss schon sagen, also im Gymnasium, in der Klosterschule.
While we were still in high school, a local hotel owner asked us if we want to sing on Friday evenings for the tourists coming to the region. And then us six, we just said, yeah, sure, we can do this. We'll sing something between like the soup dish and the fish entree that is being catered to the people. It's no problem. But this hotel owner was a clever guy. And so he opened it up for the locals as well. And there were also all of a sudden radio people from Radio Romansh, which is a radio station specifically for the language. And then during a glass of wine after the show, one guy said, You just have to apply for Concours Eurovision. We just have a piano. We don't have much of an equipment here. But he said, you know what, we'll help you. You will come to the radio station. We will record a song and then we will send it in. And so we did it. We did Da Compagnia. It's a song that we needed a bit in our own shows to have a song that like wraps up the show, because it's a song about being thankful to have spent time together. We were in shock when the invite came that we would actually be part of the pre-selection.
What was the experience of that first pre-selection like? I mean, being so young, especially.
Ja, wir hatten nichts zu verlieren. Das war mal
For us,
eine.
the most important thing is we just had nothing to lose. But then the problems really began with the tech for a television show. My brother, who at one point accompanied us to a rehearsal, said afterwards, my dear friends, this all sounds horrible. If you do this on Saturday, it'll be a train wreck. But the studio people around us, they understood what was going on and what was necessary, and they made us an offer. They said, every evening, once the regular schedule is over, we allow you to practice behind the scenes with us from tech. For us, it was also a really, really important lesson what it means to sing with technology. But then at the night of, for us, we placed third. And third was a huge success. No one was expecting anything from us. I remember one review, and that review said, well, those young students might not have money for proper long sleeve shirts, and yet they ended up on the podium. And then we went back to Graubünden, and there was actually a huge group of people welcoming us. And then it was all off to the races for us. And that was how it all started.
The next year, you entered again with Sentiments. So can you talk about the origins of that song?
Ja, das kann ich gut machen, weil
So after us being
wie gesagt,
third, the euphoria actually was so big, and our fan base also grew. And I also recall that in Lugano at that first pre-selection, a manager gave me his business card and he said to give me a call. I understood he meant the whole group, but he was actually just referring to me. We went to Zurich to see whether he's real. And as we ring his bell and the door opens, this guy is just in shock. And he just said, well, I was just expecting you. I was not expecting the whole crew. But I looked him into the eye and said, either you're going to take the whole band or you're going to get no one. And we turned around and said, we will just go for Eurovision for a second time on our own. We can do it without this guy. And then Sentiments, also being like a very passionate song about feelings and feelings being as deep as the ocean, was written. And we went to Mosh, and all of a sudden there is this manager again. He was baffled that we were there. But what he had done was he also brought his own gig, and he brought his own big artist, and it was a woman named Celine Dion. After hearing her for the first time, I was looking at my boys in the band and I said, we can just pack our bags. This woman is going to win it. This is actually what happened. We placed second, she won. And I just knew for us it was still a great step forward. But yeah, we had no chance against her.
Do you have any fun Celine Dion anecdotes or backstage stories?
Sie hat über sich erzählt.
She was just a very normal person. And I'd even say that maybe I sensed some insecurities in her because us as a band, we couldn't lose a lot. But there was already a lot of pressure on her and pressure that she felt. I met her twice again after, and I was just baffled at what kind of world career she was able to make.
Part of that pressure that Celine Dion faced was criticism that she was representing Switzerland while not herself being Swiss.
For me, it was always much more important that Switzerland is represented by one of the four languages that is being spoken in the country. And so her singing Ne partez pas sans moi for me was really, really great. And backstage, I really have to say that we were just enjoying that big moment of this person growing into that star.
The next year, you compete in the national selection again, this time with Vivere Senza Tie. Can you tell us a bit about the song?
Das war die Herausforderung, was
In 89, all of a sudden, the pressure felt as if it has gotten a bit bigger. I had a moment and I realized, okay, I write Viva Senza Te. The song is basically about what would life be without the people around us. We need one another. And if we only understood that, we would live in paradise on earth. We don't necessarily have to love each other, but we have to find respect for one another. We were then allowed to go to the pre-selection, which we won with the maximum points possible. I wish I could say we flew to the final, but actually we were only allowed to take the train, which was a hard thing for us because so many other participants get to see other countries. And for us, it was a 2.5-hour train ride. And there I met Celine Dion again, and she hugged me so much and said, well, the song is so beautiful. Never forget that a person like her said that to me. And we then went to Lausanne. We didn't have much of a show. The newspapers wrote that our men stood there like mountains. And nevertheless, we were so happy that with something so original, so special, in the end, we placed 13. And behind us was Germany. So what a success.
I was curious what that face you made at the end was there, Christian.
So, because the German song that year was written by Dieter Bohlen, which is basically Germany's Simon Cowell. And it was considered like a huge favorite. And so, yeah, being 13th not only meant beating Germany, it also meant beating one of the most obnoxious figures in the German entertainment industry of the last 50 years.
Und das, wenn ich denke,
and even now, thinking that Eurovision has been on for 68 years, and we are the only one who ever sang in this language.
Ich wurde ein paar Mal danach
In 1990, we were asked to maybe cross the border to Germany and start a bit of a career there. But also, as I already said, we had this idea of the group that everyone had to be on the same page of these decisions and everyone had to be in on it. And since two of us didn't want to take that step towards Germany, we said at the highest point, and who does that? It's okay, it's done, it's finished. We were still receiving some awards, but in 1990 we said, okay, we were done. After the end of Furbaz, without any fighting, with like no disputes behind the scenes, where we stopped on this like highest point of it all, we said, we decided to say goodbye to the fans with a Christmas album.
I also got to point out that the fact that your group split up without any conflict or any sort of bad feelings, how very Swiss of you.
Immer so neutral sind. Ja, exakt.
Unsere Neutralität zieht sich durch.
Ja.
Okay.
Since 1989, Eurovision has also grown a lot as a competition, more countries participating, number of events. Now it's a full week with semifinals. What's your perspective on that change? And have you ever thought about or considered returning to compete in this much more expansive contest now?
Also, man sollte nicht
I personally was asked a couple of times to try again in the pre-selection, but I always had the sense of maybe destroying more than I would win. I think one thing that also changed is that over time, the power and the quality of the song became less important. You need to like pull out all the stops. But at the same time, I also really don't want to talk badly about it because I also feel as if in the last 6, 7, 8 years, quality has really come back to Eurovision because there were also so many solo singers winning and winning with songs and performances that made me personally very happy because they showed that quality sometimes is more important than like the whole shebang.
Ich muss noch vielleicht etwas betonen. Ich denke,
I also want to emphasize one more thing. The way that we were singing as a group in Romansh, I was also thinking that maybe on an international level, me as a solo artist, I could probably not do that. And I would probably make more mistakes than to actually be able to start something on an international level.
Just to quickly wrap it up, Marie, are we gonna see you in Basel this year?
oh, perhaps.
Perhaps.
Perhaps, I don't know, an invitation, you know?
Okay.
I think we need the third, meeting with Celine. I think we need to both see you both on there.
We got a duet this time.
Yeah. Great.
Marie Louise Werth, thank you so much
Thank you
for
so
sitting
much.
down with us.
All the mysteries of the Euroverse.